Thank you, June, for the kind words. I hope I live up to your expectations. You will have to pardon my voice. I hope it doesn't give out, so I will try to cut my speech as short as possible. In any case, President Rose Baldeo, officers and directors, and members of the Subic Chamber, I thank you in advance for hosting this annual event. I would like to also acknowledge the presence of some of our directors of the board. I'd like to call them Director Pineda, Buboy Pineda, of course, our Director and Chief Operating Officer, Director Joven Reyes, Director Francis Garcia, Director Boy Kong-hun, and the only rose among the thorns, Director Cynthia Paulino. Yes. I think the mayor is objecting. Of course, I welcome, a very warm welcome to the good mayor of Olongapo. I am quite pleased this afternoon to welcome everybody to this sofa, particularly the stakeholders here, the local chamber, the students, the locators, some residents I see, of course the SBMA employees, our partners in the local government, our partners in the other government agencies, like the BIR and the customs. This is an occasion for us to get together so that I can brief you on what is the real state of the Freeport today. Alam nyo, madaling mag-report pag magandang performance. The most difficult thing to report is when your performance is not too good. So I will take advantage of the sofa this afternoon because we have a very exciting story to tell the stakeholders, and we will also give you in broad strokes what we intend to do this year and perhaps even in the coming years. It's very important for me at this point because I think it is necessary at this point in time to make the Freeport better, that the stakeholders, all of us here in this room together, get together and unite to make Subic a better place. It should not be SBMA saying, we want to do this. No, it should be all of the stakeholders saying, these are the things that can be done in Subic Bay, and this is how we can move forward, with all of us hand to hand trying to achieve that objective. So let me start with how SBMA performed in 2013. I think many of you have been reading the newspapers, and we have come out with preliminary reports. But the final scorecard is in, and the figures we will be presenting to you will be the almost final figures for 2013. Let me start off with investments. This is the key driver in the Freeport. And as you can see here, it was a banner year as far as investments were concerned. Our investments approved by the board rose from 3 billion in 2012 to 27 billion, or an increase of 800%. Cumulative investments, as a result, grew from 8.8 billion to $9.4 billion. The projected employment from new projects approved in 2013 is expected to add around 4,000 workers in the coming years as these projects come on stream, so an increase of 70%. These are the Top new investments approved by the board. You can see, of course, Resom Resort, which is the top investment. They are committing close to US $500 million to build a completely new resort city here in Subic Bay in the Ilanin area. Of course, we have other major investments, PTT, the seafoods. These seafoods companies want to make Subic Bay the center for their logistics. Global Outlets, which is engaged in garments, and many other locators. The other achievements in the investment promotion performance is the full implementation of the CUSA policy, allowing for cost recovery and sustained maintenance of quality municipal services. Let me explain, however, that full implementation does not mean 100% compliance. In fact, the compliance with the CUSA policy stands only at around 60%. So I hope by giving this SOFA this afternoon, more of you will contribute in paying for the CUSA. I don't know if you've noticed, we have 4 brand new law enforcement department vehicles outside, the black ones, and this came from your CUSA. Next. Also, we have gone into the full implementation of the admission fees for second-hand vehicles, and for the first time, we have started to collect admission fees on heavy equipment. This is quite significant because this has contributed around 70 million pesos in additional revenues for the Freeport. We have also signed 2 MOAs with the DOST. The objective is to capitalize on the prime location of Subic as a telecommunications center and to establish the 3rd National Data Center, Backup Center here in Subic Bay. So this is I think a confirmation of the policy that we enunciated last year, in which we wanted to make Subic a disaster recovery area, not only for the national government, but for many other companies operating especially in earthquake-prone areas like Manila. Of course, we have been implementing since 2012 the use it or lose it land use policy. What does this mean? Very simply, it means you must use the land and develop the land that you leased. Because if you do not develop it, you will lose it. Because it is unfair to SBMA, it is unfair to the Freeport that idle lands are continued to be left undeveloped. To this end, we have repossessed 60 hectares of land from defaulting and non-paying locators and residents. And we are going to offer now these properties, and we have been offering these properties now for new locators and new developers. This is, as you know, a very controversial issue, the issue of the power plant. But the board last year, we finally passed a resolution fully supporting the construction and development of the power plant. This is in line with the President's program to make energy and electricity more affordable and more available. You can see right now what is happening in our country. Just in the news today, there are already brownouts starting in Mindanao. Let me inform you also that the power projections for the island of Luzon are very, very thin. What it means to say, this project has been delayed because there is a case now still being decided upon by the Freeport. This plant was supposed to come on stream by 2016. However, it looks like 2018, assuming that the Supreme Court makes a decision in the soonest possible time. Remember, at this point in time, the most expensive power is no power. And as you will see from my presentation later on, the foreign investors who come here are going to be very, very particular about this issue. We must have available quality power, and we must have affordable power so that our industries can be competitive worldwide. So we are just waiting for the Supreme Court decision, and that will dictate how the power plant will proceed. This also involves the continued subsidy of Hanjin power rates as committed during the time of President Arroyo. This is a national commitment, and we have finally been able to come to a solution together with PESA and DBM on how to continue to assist Hanjin, which is in badly need of support, as you will see in the succeeding slides. The biggest problem, as I have told you in the past, in Subic right now, is we have run out of land. We have less than 300 hectares of land available for new investors. And these are pockets of land. This is not one contiguous area. For your information, this morning, I got a call from President Art Tugade, the president of Clark Development Corporation. And he said, because we cooperate, we used to be student leaders. At that time, he was in Sambeda, I was in La Salle. So he's a good friend of mine. And he said, I have a big project. It's a tire manufacturing project. And I don't want to lose this project. He said, my problem, I do not have land in Clark anymore. I said, there's so many lands in Clark. But he said, those have all been leased out already. I said, do you have 45 hectares in Subic? And I said, no. So this is the kind of problem we're facing right now. That's why we worked very hard together with San Antonio and together with Subic to expand the territory of SBME in which we can offer incentives under Presidential Decree 675. So in December last year, after my visit to the Mayor Antipolo of San Antonio, together with her Vice Mayor and the Municipal Council, they came up with a resolution portioning 10,000 hectares of land in San Antonio, which covers the western coastline of Zambales, from San Antonio all the way up. And this consists of, for me, some of the most beautiful beaches in the Philippines, no? Which unfortunately are underdeveloped because there is no road access. The tourists go surfing there, they go camping, but they go by bangka. So we are going to try to work out a pilot project with Mayor Antipolo and try to also work with TIESA for them to construct a road so that this area, these three coves, there are three beautiful coves there, Silangin, Nagsasa, and Anawangin. You should go. They are world-class coves that really can be developed and can attract a lot of tourists. Also, cooperating with the local government, with Congressman Kong Hoon, with Mayor Kong Hoon, I've told them that we have a lot of interest, especially from Japanese shipbuilders who I visited in November last year. They are now looking for an alternate place to put their shipbuilding facilities in Japan, which you know has become very expensive. So they are very interested in Subic, and the municipality of Subic, the local government, is willing to look and see whether they can provide the land beside Hanjin, which is very convenient and which is land that the Japanese shipbuilders are quite interested in. So we're going to work together with Subic on that one. Next. Okay, let's go now to tourism. And the year 2013 was really more fantastic in Subic, as you can see from the figures we're posting here. Visitor arrivals are up to 5.2 million, or 8% from last year. Tourist arrivals are up by 3% compared to 2012. Hotel occupancy rates, for your information, remain the same. From 2012 to 2013, it stands at 70%, which actually is a very good occupancy rate, considering, remember, that we have a 4-month shutdown period here because of the rains. As you know, we've been trying to promote Subic as a sports capital and also as a MICE capital. On both counts, we performed quite well. Number of events, you can see in sports, from 53 to 56. Number of participants is particularly noteworthy, increasing by 124%. These are mostly the triathlons, the sailing competitions, the duathlons, the all sorts of sports competitions that we've been having over the past year. In terms of MICE, this is an area in which, unfortunately, the number of events have gone down by 16%. However, the number of participants went up by 4%. This is going to be an area that we're going to be concentrating very heavily on. During the last Drive Tourism program, Secretary Jimenez, in front of me, gave instructions that he says he wants Subic Bay promoted as the MICE capital of Central and Northern Luzon. He saw our facilities, he saw our setup, he said this is the ideal place for meetings, incentives, conventions, and exhibitions. So we're going to be pushing very hard for that. Of course, as you know also, last year, the ocular team for APEC visited, together with their chief security. Ambassador Santa Catalina came, and they made an intensive study. They went to the hotels, the restaurants, and they are recommending very strongly that Subic will be the site for the APEC senior ministers meetings. Also, they are also recommending that the ABAC, which is the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, this is composed of the CEOs of the top corporations in ASEAN, and they are proposing that the ABAC conference be done here in Subic. So if we get that, that crowd alone is estimated to be 3,500 CEOs and staff. So we're keeping our fingers crossed on that. Here are some of the major tourism events that we had. The Subic International Marathon, which is actually January this year. The Subic to Boracay race, no? Which again we will be having this year, and which SBMA is fully supporting. The TRAP, Tri-United Leg, in March. International Triathlon again. The Philippines Councilors National Convention will be held here in May. I'm sorry, that was last year. The Century Tuna 5150 was held in June last year. They're having it again this year. Couples for Christ, this was around 4,000 people. The Global Walk of ANCOP, arrival of the Hanseatic cruise liner, which arrived in October, and of course the TRAP National Duathlon Championships in December. Next, please. We go now to one of the major areas of operation as far as SBMA is concerned, and here under port operations, both for the seaport and airport, we registered very, very significant increases. You can see here on gross registered tonnage, we're up by 40%. Ship calls are up by 9%. Containerized cargoes, still only 3%. And non-containerized cargo in metric tons, 8.7%. In terms of seaport revenue, you can see that there was a huge increase, 130%, which came mainly from leases. It also came from the Vale transshipment operations. This contributed 140 million to SBMA seaport operations this year. Looking now at exports, this is an area in which we are down compared to 2012. The main reason, the SBF locators here, the major downfall was with Hanjin because of the very poor market for shipping. The Hanjin production fell from 15 ships in 2012 to only 7 ships in 2013. So we lost quite a bit of exports. Remember, Hanjin usually exports around $1 billion a year. Hopefully, the second line, the non-SBF export users, is starting from scratch. But if the Manila congestion and if President Mayor Erap's truck ban continues to cause problems, I think Subic will be very benefited by the move. So I salute President Erap, no? Dati, hindi ko gusto yan. Pero ngayon, idol ko siya. This is very significant because, in fact, we have been already getting feelers. As early as December last year, we got an increasing number of accounts from Manila coming here to Subic. And we hope this trend will continue. Again, in the airport, we achieved a very good increase in revenues, rising by 50% compared to last year. The main reason for this was the use of the airport for the U.S. military exercises. They paid close to $500,000 for the use of the airport facilities. No? And I have been informed that they will continue to use that this year. So at least on that part, we can see an increase in the revenue of the airport. This is another performance indicator that we always report to you every year. The BIR, this is really basically the total collections of BIR from the locators inside the Freeport. So here we had a very good performance. The BIR collections increased by 9% compared to last year. And let's give RDO Heli a big hand for that. Of course, we wish we make more money so you can collect more tax. No? Also, the big surprise, well, not really surprise, the big performer is the Bureau of Customs. You can see from 6 billion in 2012, they remitted to the national government 10.8 billion, or a 71% increase. Is General Marcos here? Anyway, I think this is a solid achievement. And for your information, the port of Subic is now known as one of the premier ports in the whole country because of this performance. They turned in, I think, the best performance of any port, any of the 27 ports here in the Philippines. Subic was number 1. In the area of manpower, this is a issue that troubles me because we have not been able to provide a substantial increase in jobs, in spite of the increasing investments. But let me just correct that figure a little bit. Actually, Hanjin lost around 2,000 jobs last year. If you'll remember, they're at around 19,000. Their headcount, because of the low orders, went down to as low as 17,000. So there is a actual drop, but because of the new investors that came in, we remained almost steady. But in the coming years, we are going to pay attention to this, as I will explain to you later. Again, as a contribution to the national and local economy, you can see here that our remittances to the national government are up by 13% to 211 million this year. You can also see that our remittance, the 2% LGU share, which we give religiously every September 1 and February 1 without fail, has also got up by 12%. That's why Mayor Rolen always smiles when it's February 1, because he's expecting a big check from me. This is another area that we also concentrate on. We want to make the free port, of course, more safe. We want to make it more secure. So in 2013, there were no further incidents of rice smuggling. Actually, what happened, if you remember, the rice smuggling that happened here in 2011, March of 2011, and I think November, there were two incidents, the Indian rice and the Vietnamese rice. But I think because of the Senate investigation and because of the fact that Subic was sort of spotlighted, natakot yung mga smuggler. So that was a benefit for us. They did not come to Subic anymore. In fact, for the whole year 2013, except for 2 shipments by NFA, actually that happened this year. In 2013, not a single grain of rice came into the free port. So I guess this means that the rice smugglers really preferred to operate in Cebu or in Manila or in Davao. For those of you who have gone to the seaside area, I'm sure you've noticed our 2 new patrol boats. And this is to combat illegal fishing and wreck diving, looting and wreck diving. We did this in October, and the board is approving another harbor patrol boat that will be bidded out for repair and renovation by next board meeting. This is very, very important. Because for almost 6 months, we had to rely on members of the Subic Yacht Club and other members who could provide us boats so that we could patrol. As I mentioned, we have here the 8 brand new service vehicles. Next. And this is a statistic that I think all of you should be very aware of. This is the crime rate. Crime rate involves basically thefts, murders, rapes, and crimes chargeable. There was a considerable decrease in crime rates. Well, not considerable, but from 47 incidents to 38 incidents in 2013, or a 19% drop in crime rate, including 0 bukas kotse incidents. Unfortunately, in the early part of this year, we had a murder, and we hope, as I said, that our law enforcement and that our other security forces and our other efforts will make sure that this does not happen again. The 6th area that we sort of focus on is protecting our environment. So here, what are the achievements here? Full implementation of no plastic policy, We are almost complete in our programmatic ECC study. For those of you who are not aware, this is a project that has been going on for 2 years. But once this programmatic ECC is finished, which should be by June this year, the authority to grant ECCs will be reverted back to the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority. It will not be DNR anymore. It will again go back to SBMA. The authority to issue ECCs. No, this is important. No further incidents of waste dumping. Again, this was a very high-profile case in 2012, but fortunately in 2013, because of measures that we've instituted, there are no more cases of waste dumping, even up to now. In March last year, we held a water summit to address water concerns. This was attended by many stakeholders. They were talking about not only water quality, but the availability of water for the Freeport in the medium term. So this again is also a very important thing as far as our environment is concerned. We are coordinating very closely. Last December, Mayor Roland and I met with the USEC of DPWH, and they have said that the DPWH, because of the recent floods, has allocated 133 million pesos for dredging of the Calaklan River. So we are presently following that up. There is a dredging plan, and when that pushes through, hopefully before the rainy season, we can expect the flood situation to be minimized, especially when the rainy season comes. So Mayor Roland and I will have to follow this up very strongly with DPWH. But at least it's ready. Nandiyan na. The funds are there. All that has to happen is that the DPWH issues the order for the dredging to be done. Again, together with Lighthouse, with the group of Manny Pangilinan and the local governments, we participated and co-sponsored the annual Earth Beach Cleanup, I think last September. And for your information now, every week, once a month, I think on the 16th of every month, together with the City of Olongapo and our Labor Center, they just had the second river cleanup. Together with the mayor, our objective is to make the river clean so it can be an attraction instead of a disincentive for tourism. So hopefully this monthly cleanup will be very helpful. The last area that we look at really is good governance. No. For your information, we were awarded our ISO after being disqualified for 3 years. We were awarded in March last year. And actually this year we had the first surveillance audit. And to prove that our systems are working, the audit team did not encounter any minor deviations or even major deviations. So in other words, SBMA passed the audit 100%. In order to strengthen the good governance program, we signed the Integrity Pledge together with the MAP, which is basically a commitment to ethical business practices and good corporate governance. This is very, very important in the sense that we wish to continue to communicate to our employees, to the stakeholders, that corruption has no place here in the Freeport. So I've heard rumors that there may be some people going around using my name, asking for donations. I have never and will never ask you for donations. Okay, so there was one locator who called me up and he said, "Are you?" I said, "No." So be very careful about that. And that goes, for that matter, for any director or any officer in SBMA. They are not supposed to do that. If you ever come across a report like that, please contact my report directly, because we will not allow that thing to happen. As far as Yolanda is concerned, among the SBMA locators, we raised over 10 million pesos in cash and goods. The major donations came from Hanjin, who donated 4,000 bags of rice. Also, TECO, SBDMC, the chairman, Chairman Wang, donated $200,000, and many other smaller donations. These were all turned over to the Philippine National Red Cross and to the DWSD. We're very proud also that our emergency rescue teams, for the second time in a row, won the Gawad Kalasag Award for Best Government Emergency Response Management Team. Most of them there are the guys in blue from our fire department. No? So, SBMA talagang, as far as disaster and rescue is concerned, SBMA is really recognized. And our head, Rani Magno, every week he's invited all over the country to teach LGUs how to cope with natural disasters. Also, as part of our good governance program, if you know, for those of you, some of you who may not be aware, there was a 50 million peso RFID project in 2008, and unfortunately, it never worked. So the board has decided to investigate the matter, and we sought outside help by referring this to the NBI to find out the people and the agencies who were responsible for this, because this represents a loss to the government. The NBI has investigated this last year, and they promised that they will give us their report by the first quarter this year. When we receive the report, we will determine on whether criminal charges should be filed against any of the people involved in this project. Next. Last November, we signed with the Pastolan ITAS the implementing rules and regulations under our joint management agreement, thus paving the way for the full implementation of the JMA. The ITAS are very happy right now. They are receiving all of the benefits, which include the yearly allowance, it includes the share of the revenues, it includes the new jobs that we have promised them, and I think we're going to get along very well as far as the joint management agreement is concerned. There are many locators who are interested who will be putting up in the ITA lands. Okay, so we now go to the financial performance. We've released some of these figures already, but the bottom line really is that 2013 was another record-breaking year for SBMA. Again, I'll go back to the 20-year history so that you can appreciate the significance of the accomplishment as far as the financial is concerned. In terms of gross revenues, in 2013, we increased our gross revenue from 1.6 to 2.1 billion, a 27% increase, and that represents the highest revenue ever in the 21-year history of the Freeport. The formula that we followed the past 2 years is very simple. We said SBMA needs a turnaround from its financial losses, because it's only when we turn around that we will generate the funds to invest in the capital equipment that we need to. So the formula is very simple. Increase revenue, reduce cost. And that's what we did over the past 2 years. So as we were increasing revenues, we were also keeping costs under very tight control. So you can see Even if you increase your revenues by 27%, our expenses, we only manage a 10% increase. The net effect of these two very simply led to the third slide, please. Our operating income. Now, if you increase your revenues, reduce your expense, or control your expense, what happened in 2013 is that we were able to increase our operating income to 992 million from 682, or a 52% increase. Again, this is the highest operating income ever registered by the Freeport. And as a consequence, it also follows that because we had favorable exchange rates, we increased our net income from 800 million in 2012 to 1.1 billion in 2013, an increase of 35%, and again, the highest ever in the history of SBMA. You know, they say in fishing sometimes, if you want to be a champion, you have to be good and lucky. Hindi pwedeng good ka lang eh. If you want to be a champion, you have to be good and lucky. And I think for SBMA, in 2013, we were not only good, we were also lucky because the financials were boosted because the exchange rate moved in our favor compared to previous years. No? So basically, that's where it stands. What happened, therefore, when our net incomes increased over the past 2 years also, we were able to reduce our debt by actually 6% compared to last year. Our total debt now stands at 10.3 billion. And finally, in terms of what happens, because of the accumulated operating income that we've done over the past 2 years, you can see that our cash position has increased from 700 to 1.1 billion, a 92% increase. Again, one of the highest in the agency's time. And this now provides us the funds to really spend on capital expenditures that are necessary to continue to make the Freeport a better place for all of us. So before I go to that, I just want to ask the members, the board of directors, the members of management, and the staff of SBMA who are present to please stand up and be acknowledged. This is the team that delivered this performance, and I think we should thank them for the tremendous job that they did in 2013. I think it's something we can really be proud of. Actually, if we compare ourselves to the other investment agencies, SBMA is at the top in terms of income, revenue, and employment, etc. We've looked at our competitors, and we performed quite well. Okay, I'd like to go now to a brief discussion, or just to draw out the broad strokes, the development plans and projects for 2014, this year. Basically, what will be the business environment in 2014? It's important for us to know what the operating environment will be so that we can plan accordingly. Basically, the world economy is showing signs of recovery. The US, even Europe and Japan are showing signs of recovery in their economies. Number two, the Philippines is expected to maintain our growth rate at 7%. Look at the chart. In 2013, the chart shows the Philippines with 7.2 GDP growth rate, followed by Indonesia, 5.8, Vietnam, 5.3, Malaysia, 4.7, Singapore, 3.7, and Thailand, 2.9. One of the first times that the Philippines has achieved this. And we should be very proud of this accomplishment. For the first time also, if we look at the Philippines' GDP performance compared to the whole of Asia, it includes Japan, China. The Philippines placed second only to China. China registered, I think, 7.2. We registered, no, 7.3 or 7.4. We registered 7.2. I think this is a factor that we must not underestimate. This is, remember, the Philippines has always been called, di ba? We are the sick man of Asia. Not anymore. Not anymore. So we need to take full advantage of this. Next. So, because of this, what is going to happen is that the Subic Bay Freeport and the other investment areas like PESA, Clark, Poro Point, we are going to expect to receive a rush of foreign investments. Let me cite you some figures. Last year, the Philippines, in spite of a 7.2 growth rate, received foreign direct investments of less than $2 billion. Do you know what Vietnam received last year? Vietnam received over $7 billion in direct foreign investment. So what does that mean? It means that if the world now realizes that the Philippines is the place to go, then that foreign investment will come here. A lot of it will come here. And on the ground here in SBMA, we're seeing that. Just today, I had a meeting this morning at 10 o'clock with a major Chinese manufacturer. The board has approved their application. It is a $200 million investment. So they're here, and they're going, more and more are going to be coming. I can promise you that. More military forces will visit the Freeport as part of the implementation of the Obama-Asia pivot. Actually, the ambassador of the United States, the new ambassador, he will be coming to Subic on Monday, and he is going to sit down with me, and he's, I think, going to disclose. The Philippines and the U.S. are very, very close now to a new defense agreement. And let us all remember that Subic is the centerpiece of that defense agreement. Now, I welcome that because of the implications of Philippine security, as long as it conforms to the Philippine Constitution. And I think everybody, the locators here, the businessmen, the hotel owners, the restaurants will welcome that because they will bring a lot of spending here to the Freeport. In 2013, there were 83 or 84 military ships that paid port calls here in the Philippines. That was up from around 47 ships in 2020. So you can imagine what's going to happen in 2014. Especially now, again, if you read the news, there's something going on in Panatag, no? So hopefully it does not escalate, and hopefully we are able to come to a good agreement with the U.S. government that will benefit both the Freeport and the surrounding LGUs, especially Olongapo City. So this will be the business environment. And as you can see, there is going to be so much opportunity for the Freeport. So again, going to the broad strokes plans for 2014. Because we have money for the first time, the board has approved a capital expenditure budget for this year alone of 620 million pesos. Last year, we spent 9 million pesos. But because I have money in the bank now, we are going to be spending 620 million pesos. Now, for the businessmen in this room, that presents many opportunities because you can see for land and land improvements. So for contractors, for example, we will be spending 90 million pesos. This will involve road infrastructure, bridge repair, etc., etc. Buildings and structures, little bit lower. IT equipment, we are going to be purchasing a new integrated ERP system so that we can manage the Freeport better and come out with better reports for management to act on. We will also be investing in a new RFID system to replace the one that never got operated, to provide better security for our gates. Equipment outlays, we are also going to be spending for new dump trucks, new ambulances, new service vehicles, and all of the other equipments that we'll be needing to make the Freeport a better place. So 620 million pesos will be spent this year, hopefully. Go to the next, please. We are going to target 23 billion compared to 27 billion last year. We will not be able to find a locator as big as Resom, but we think we can do 23 billion this year compared to 27 in the last year. This is an area that I said that I'm very concerned about. We are going to be looking as a criteria right now for those new applicants, new investors here in the Freeport. We will be favoring investors that will bring in more jobs. More jobs, because that is what the inclusive growth is all about. If we cannot create new jobs, then I consider ourselves a failure. So I think the important thing is that we bring in the companies that can give new jobs to our residents from Bataan, from Zambales, for the neighboring LGUs. No? We will also aggressively pursue utilization of the new container port. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to be working with the DOTC. We're writing him a letter actually today, asking him and endorsing his initiative, because Secretary Advaya just announced today that to relieve the congestion in Manila, DOTC is finally endorsing a plan to move cargo to Batangas and to Subic. We will also attract more tourists and visitors by launching a creative tourism campaign and hosting more events. This is part of the big program that we have as far as MICE and sports tourism is concerned. We are also going to implement within the agency a major reorganization program that will be able to more effectively deal with the new focus that we have as far as 2014 is concerned and the various strategic initiatives. We find difficulty operating within the present organizational structure because it's not really suited to the strategic initiatives that we've set for this year. This is also another major program, deliver better service to locators and residents by simplifying the business processes such as the new CRT automatic renewal. We will be calling a public hearing very soon to explain the details. I've announced this to the Chamber already. We're going to simplify the registration procedure. We will go back to the old system of CRTE, and that will be automatically renewed for 3 years. All you have to do is pay the fine. Believe me, I come from the private sector, and that was one of my most pressing concerns: how to make our operations more efficient so that we can deliver better service to our customers. So we're going to be doing that this year. And I think lastly, you know, the agency's employees have been neglected. The last salary increase they got was 2009. We are 4 steps behind BCDA, our BCDA counterparts. So we have been long neglected as far as that is concerned. And for the past year and 3 months, I have had a pending petition with the Office of the President, approved already by the DBM, for the salary adjustment, which is just to start off with at 10% across the board. And hopefully the Office of the President will approve this before the end of the first quarter. Also, at the last board meeting, alam mo, malakas ang loob namin ngayon, dahil meron na tayong pambayad, At the last board meeting, we passed a resolution. If we are 3 steps behind BCDA counterpart, and each step represents 10%, the board passed a resolution asking the DBM and the Office of the President for an immediate adjustment to the level of BCDA, which I think is only fair. No? So, if we do that, at least I think our employees will be amply rewarded for their efforts in the past. 30%, 40% increase, okay na yon. Also, for your information, we have asked that this increase of 10% be retroactive January 2013. Kaya may bonus yung mga empleyado ng SBMA. And they are anxiously looking forward to that. The only bad news is that the chairman and administrator is not included in the increase. And lastly, we want to continue to intensify the agency's good governance program. Because as I have stressed in the past, good governance, we have proven it here in the Freeport. Now, good governance means good business. It's as simple as that. So I would like to close this rather long presentation by 2 quotations, actually. One by President Pinoy. He said, "Let us get back to work, and by fulfilling our individual tasks, likewise fulfill our shared aspirations as one country." So he's saying, it's time to get together because we have shared shared aspirations. And here in Subic, that is exactly the situation. We have shared aspirations, and it is no longer fit for you to stand back and say, let SBMA do all the work. No. This afternoon, I am asking for your commitment and support to make the Freeport a better place. Under the Japanese system of Kaizen, Kaizen means constant improvement. The fact that SBMA has done well in 2013 does not mean we can stop there. It means, under the concept of Kaizen, we must constantly improve. But what has happened over the first 2 years of my administration is that we have picked the lower fruit, the low-hanging fruit. Now, that's why these performances have been achieved. But as we go into 2014, it is going to become more and more difficult for SBMA to continue to achieve higher targets, higher levels of success. And I cannot see this happening, actually, unless all of you stakeholders, the local governments, the LGUs, as I said, the locators, the residents, the stakeholders, all of us put in our best foot forward to make the Freeport a better place. So this is the last quotation I want to share with you. Is an adaptation from John Kennedy, as you all know. And it says, "Ask not what SBMA can do for you, but what you can do to make this Freeport a better place for all." Thank you.